Hello guys and welcome back to Ollie's on the Ball. So this is my round 4 tips video. Week had a pretty bad week for tipping. I think most people had a pretty bad week given Sydney beat Richmond, St Kilda lost to Essendon, Port Adelaide lost to Melbourne. So it was bad from the start. And then Collingwood beat Brisbane at the Gabba. And the one upset that I tipped didn't happen, so that was not very good. My Ollie's calls, 3 out of 8. One was easy, but then the other two, I think I had like Port Adelaide to have 350 disposals. I had 351, and I had Geelong to lead at half. No, I actually got 4. I had Geelong to lead at half time, and that happened. Then I had Errol Goulden 25 plus disposals. He had 25, which counts. It's like 4 plus goals, 4 counts. Moving on to the first game. So this is Gather Round, so that's why every single game is in South Australia and some venues that wouldn't usually host games, hosting games. Adelaide versus Melbourne. Now, this should be a pretty interesting game. Adelaide 0-3, lost last week to Fremantle by 35. Melbourne 3-1, last week defeated Port Adelaide by 7 at the Adelaide Oval. So I think they're staying in Adelaide through the week because they play Adelaide Oval 2 weeks in a row because of Gather Round. Thursday night, the Crows will be wanting a win because it's Gather Round. Last year, it was probably a similar situation. They beat the Blues by about 50 points. So Adelaide aren't out of the question in this game, and they really need to fight back. And they only lost to Geelong by 19. So I'm going to go the upset here. I'm tipping Adelaide by 7. With my Ollie's call, more than 170 points kicked in the game. Adelaide have a good offence, so I reckon there'll be quite a few goals kicked. Moving on. Brisbane, North Melbourne. Norwood Oval, 5:10pm Friday. Record 0-2. Last week, Brisbane lost to Collingwood by... they're 0-3, I mean. Last week, they lost to Collingwood by 20. So, not good. They've really had a bad start to the season, so this should hopefully get them going. You would think they would win this. In Gather Round last year, they beat North Melbourne by like 77 or something. So that was pretty big win. So I hope for them, they'll hope they can repeat the same this year. North Melbourne 0-3. Last week lost to Carlton by 56. And they had injuries. Callum Coleman-Jones did his Achilles, so that's not good for them. So their defence is not amazing. Toby Pink, and Colby McKercher are 2 in defence, and they've only played 11 games. Not even. Ollie's call is Harry Sheasel has 25 plus disposals. Like last week, I feel like the ball's going to be in Brisbane's forward half lots of the time. And Sheasel will be around the ball, so off half back, I reckon, so you'll get quite a few. Adelaide Oval, 8:10pm Friday, Port Adelaide Essendon. Record for Port Adelaide 2-1. Last week lost to Melbourne by 7. You would have expected them to win. It was a really good game. And they were in front at 3/4 time, but then Melbourne I think they kicked 5 in the last quarter to win by 7. Essendon defeated St Kilda by 4 last week in a thriller. Bombers played well, but they were behind most of the game. St Kilda just didn't take their chances, and the Bombers capitalised, and they should have given St Kilda, it's their fault for not taking their chances, so that was a good win for them. Adelaide Oval, I feel like Essendon aren't good away from Melbourne, so I'm going to tip Port Adelaide by 28. With my Ollie's call, Essendon concede 90 plus points. Their defence isn't really there. So, I reckon it'll be like 100 to 60 or something. Mount Barker, 1:30 p.m. Saturday. So Mount Barker, because of Gallagher, obviously a few venues, literally in the middle of nowhere. West Coast Sydney, West Coast 0-3 lost last week to the Bulldogs by 76. After quarter time, they were atrocious. Um, yeah, just wasn't a good performance from them. Sydney lost to Richmond by 5. Bit of a not expected result. Sydney were down by a bit at quarter time, but then come back and at half time and 3/4 time it looks like they were going to win. But then Richmond, well, they won in a thriller. Sydney is 3-1, so they're at the top of the ladder. Still got a bye to come. This is a pretty straightforward tip. I'm going to tip Sydney by 74 with my Ollie's call that Tom Papley kicks 4+ goals. In Gather Round last year, he kicked 6. It's against West Coast, so I reckon he'll have a good day. Fremantle, Carlton, Adelaide Oval, because Gather Round neutral game at the Adelaide Oval. Record 3-0 Fremantle. Last week defeated Adelaide by 35. That's a pretty good win. Carlton record 3-0 last week defeated North Melbourne by 56 expected. In this game, unfortunately for looks, Fremantle will be wearing their stealth kit. In my opinion, it is not good. It just looks like it's all black. This should be a pretty good game, but the Blues will come out on top and win by 17. With my Ollie's call, Carlton lead at all changes. I think they'll be in front most of the game, and then Fremantle might mount a late comeback. Western Bulldogs Geelong, Adelaide Oval, 8:10 p.m. Saturday. Second game in a row at the Adelaide Oval on the same day. Bulldogs record 2-1. Last week they defeated West Coast by 76. They were actually down in the first quarter, but then West Coast kicks like one more goal. And the Bulldogs just smashed them, which was expected. Geelong 3-0 defeated Hawthorn by 36. As of recording, that game was yesterday. Oh, that was an interesting game. They were up by like 40 in the first quarter, up by 10 at half time. Hawthorn were looking like they were going to take the lead. Then they kicked out again in the third quarter. Then they had to go off for lightning for 40 minutes, and it was absolutely pouring in the last quarter and in the break, so it was very wet in the last quarter. Hawks looks like they got it back to 3 goals, but then the Cats steadied and won by 36. I'll tip Geelong by 11 in this one. I think Geelong, even though people think, oh, they won't win, they just prove people wrong, like saying they're too old and all that. So I think they will win, and Jeremy Cameron will kick 3+ goals, as Marley's called. Gold Coast, GWS. Gold Coast last week bye, but the week before they lost to the Western Bulldogs by 48. Not a good performance. I think I tipped them in that game, and I think they were it was pretty even, so not a good performance to lose by that much. Giants had the bye last week. I can't remember who they played the week before, but they obviously won. Yeah, Giants have had a good start, but they haven't played the toughest team. They beat Collingwood, but everyone's seen what Collingwood have been like. So, yeah, that's not prominent. I reckon they will be good. Oh, Giants beat West Coast, so yeah, that's nothing to brag about. So, it'll be interesting to see how this game goes, but I'm going to tip the Giants by 14 with my Ollie's call that Gold Coast lead at half time. St Kilda Richmond at Norwood Oval. 3:20 p.m. Sunday. Now, this is going to be a very interesting game. Richmond record 1-3 last week defeated Sydney by 5. St Kilda record 1-2 lost to Essendon last week by 4. They just didn't take their chances. Richmond after last week, you'd think they're favourites, but they've got Lam Baker out due to suspension. They've got Tom Lynch out for 10 weeks. Who's their key forward, and they've got Noel Bolter, who plays key forward when Lynch isn't there, out for 5 weeks. So their forward line, I can't see them kicking more than 10 goals. So I reckon this will be a low scoring game, and the Saints are a defensive team. So I'm going to tip the Tigers by 12, given that I think they will be the better side, but they just don't have the forwards to kick goals. With Marlies Call St Kilda kick more goals than behind, something they seem to do every week. Collingwood Hawthorn. Adelaide Oval, 5:10 p.m. Monday. This is the last game of gather round. Collingwood record 1-3. Their one win coming over Brisbane last week. There was a pretty good performance, but Brisbane have got some issues, so probably not the greatest win. And you think, oh, you beat Brisbane at the Gabba, but Brisbane have lost their last two at the Gabba. So it's not the best win, but it's still a good win. Should give them some confidence. Hawthorn lost to Geelong by 36, as I said earlier. Crazy game, lightning delays, cord. Hawthorn looking like they could have come back and nearly won, but then Geelong eased it and won comfortably in the end. Hawthorn, they just couldn't put 4 quarters of footy together. I'll tip Collingwood in this one. I feel like they are the better side on paper by 21. But this might be interesting given Jack Ginnivan against his former side and Finn McGuinness can tag Nick Dacos, so that should be interesting. Ollie's call is Collingwood lead or game. I feel like they will be the better side. Thanks for watching Ollie's on the Ball, and see you next week.